Hey guys, and welcome to episode 3 of the what is it? The Straight Talk with I couldn't even remember the name of that show. Oh, that's bad. Straight Talk with Mike and Colzy. We have a lot of different social media platforms, so sometimes I get confused. My bad. But anyway, we're here with our 3 amazingly handsome boys.
Sup with it?
And
Sup with the gang?
we're gonna just introduce them so you get a feel for the family.
Yeah.
And understand a bit about who we are.
Because there was a few people that said introduce the family, and I thought before we kick off today's topic, we're gonna let the boys introduce themselves, and then they're gonna go eat their toasties, and we'll continue the.
Yeah. So I guess Malachi's holding the microphone. So Malachi, tell us a little bit about yourself. How old are you?
Hey baby, I pool. I'm 9 years old, but I pool. You know what it is? Yeah, gang.
Okay, right.
Luke, come to the forefront a little
Yeah,
bit. This
come
is
closer
Luke.
so you can actually focus.
Alright, my name is Luke. I'm 17. Any 17-year-olds looking? No, I'm playing.
Yeah, he's playing. Yeah, he's playing.
Joking, not joking.
Come closer so you can see it.
I'm 14. I'm 14. I'm 14, but I'm 18 on the weekends.
I didn't even tell people what's your name. What's your name? What's your name, kid?
Oh, my name is Josh.
All right, that's Josh.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
So we're gonna let them go out now, but we're gonna
We will
interview
actually
them
have you one at
in
a time.
future episodes. We'll have them
Interview.
on the podcast with us, and
Thanks,
yeah,
guys.
we will talk to them about some different topics.
I love you, beautifuls.
Thanks, guys.
Kings and queens.
Lots of love from the Stumble family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do the dishes, please. Thank you.
All right, guys. So today's episode, now that we've got that out of the way, we're actually going to be talking about cultural differences.
Boom.
That was the wrong sound effect. I meant to. That's the. Oh no. So I have a new sound effects board for doing these podcasts and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm still learning all the buttons because they're not actually labeled, they're just color coded. Oh wow. Alright. Oh no.
Okay, let's stop.
Don't wet yourself.
No.
LBL.
Okay, babe, stop. Let's go.
Anyway, okay. Let's get into the topic.
Which is cultural differences.
Cultural differences.
Don't know where to start. It's
Well,
really
I
big.
would like to probably preface this by saying that we're not specifically talking about interracial differences, because you could be a white person from Australia and a white person from Norway, for instance, and you would still have cultural differences.
That's right.
Or you could be an African from North Africa and an African from South Africa, and you would have cultural differences. So the discussion is mainly around cultural differences, although with interracial differences, there's automatically cultural differences.
Yeah.
So we will probably touch on that a little bit, but it's mainly the focus is cultural differences.
Yeah. So where do we start?
Where do we start? Well, so, you know, for regular listeners, watchers of this channel.
The new ones? Oh, no, the new
Yeah, the YouTube and the Spotify. You would know that we've been married for over 11 years now.
Yeah.
And we have had our fair share of challenges. And most of them have been cultural.
Oof.
So,
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about this from a couple of different perspectives. There's the perspective of me going to South Africa for the first time and kind of having culture shock that way.
Yeah.
And then also
Me coming, yeah.
you coming here and having...
Especially in that time when I came for a visit.
And just even, I would say, probably like expectations that we have about certain things that we do, the way that we interact, talk, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Always
just go with the flow, really. Hey.
Yeah, for
See
sure.
where the topic takes us.
Definitely. So, let's kick this off.
Where's that cricket sound?
I got that one right. Guys.
Oh, that was much needed.
Anyway, so 2009, I decided to go to South Africa for a mission trip for the first time. Didn't know Coles yet. Didn't meet her on that trip. But I, like a lot of people, didn't really know exactly what to expect going to an African country. You know, a lot of people in Western culture, their only exposure to African culture is like World Vision or, you know.
Wait, I just think about. I'll explain why. I just was laughing.
We're laughing, because we had a conversation about this afternoon with our one of our good friends from Ghana, and we were laughing about how the way World Vision portrays African kids with.
But let's leave that for when they actually.
That's a topic for another time. We can have a good laugh about that. So I guess the main thing is that, so you know, my background is I'm Australian. And I guess I preface this by saying that Aussie culture is very, she'll be right, mate. We like to make fun of our friends. We like to just, you know, we don't care too much. Like people, it's really hard to kind of offend us. It's very like water off a duck's back, which I'd say is probably the opposite for you.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, in your culture. Obviously there's a lot of differences. I mean, I don't even know how to structure this. There's so much to talk about.
I know, right? I'm thinking in my head, where do you
actually start?
But all right, so you ended up in South Africa. What was the first thing that really was a shock, like a shock to the system?
I mean, the first thing was landscape, because the landscape was so different. That was the first thing that I noticed, because before I even saw people, actually no, the very first thing that I noticed, and this hit me really hard, was that I got off the plane and we were in the van or whatever, heading back to our accommodation, and we were driving past, it was like Philippi or Kailicha or something like that, right?
The shanties?
Yeah, the shanties, and I saw people with like buckets of water, and they were like washing their clothes in buckets of water, and just how there was like a sea of like electrical cables going to all these little tin sheds and stuff, and it was like I'd never seen anything like this in my life in Australia, and even really like on TV and stuff. No, I just wasn't exposed to it, and it blew me away. Absolutely.
How did you feel? Like what were you thinking at that point?
It made me a little bit sad. I was probably like a bit heartbroken that people actually live like this, and it if anything kind of like it was a rude awakening that like I'm really blessed.
Yeah.
The way that I'd grown up so sheltered. You know, you often hear the phrase like, you know, if you have running water, you are like in the top 1% of the world kind of thing. Like that's what they say, but it doesn't mean anything until you see it in reality. And that was a huge blowout. So then from there, we went to Muizenberg, and just like the vastness of the mountains, like here I am, it's, you know, we've only got hills, we don't have mountains, and just the rocks, you know, like are so big and stuff, and it's just like I was like, man, this is a really beautiful place.
It is.
And I remember, and like I'm almost like embarrassed to admit this, but you know, we were told beforehand, like just keep, you know, keep your wits about you, just be careful, because you know crime rate is much higher in South Africa, and you know we'd heard about carjackings and muggings and all sorts of stuff, right? And so like I had this probably overly paranoid sense of fear, and I remember walking down this alleyway to get to the shop that was like kind of around the corner, and there was this guy walking behind me, and I was like actually scared, like
because of what you've been told.
Because what I'd been told, and you know, I obviously wouldn't be like that now. I've been to South Africa 8 times, and I've spent enough time there to probably call it a second home. I have spent a lot of time in South Africa, And I absolutely have put myself in far more dangerous situations than walking down an alley in the middle of the daytime. So I certainly wouldn't be scared of that anymore. But just the first impression, you know, I'd been in the country for 2 hours and I need to go to the shops. And it was like, oh, there's this guy following me down the alley. I'm going to get mugged.
What was that?
That's me just like whispering to myself. That's
Did you like the sound of that?
No, I was just like whispering. I was like recreating the whisper to myself.
Okay, babe.
I'm going to get mugged. No.
But nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Just a guy on a walk on the way to the shops.
And that's not to say you shouldn't be like just, you know, careful and vigilant and stuff, but like don't be unnecessarily paranoid.
Yeah.
So from there, you know, I spent 2.5 weeks in Cape Town, and just some of the things like you know, I was exposed to what was it chicos?
On the food.
Yeah, that was like one of the first things that I ate, and that was different. Watching this big cast iron pot cooked over a fire with like a whole bunch of like meat and spices and vegetables and everything, kind of like a stew, right? But the way they did it was really different. They had like a wooden like stick, like a, you know, like a, and they were using that to kind of like turn it over. So it was like really authentic. So yeah, the food was different, you know, the scenery was different, the people were different, obviously they looked different. I had never seen so many like people of different colours in one location before in my life.
So multicultural,
very multicultural, and yeah, it was like an overload for me. You know, like a lot of people when they choose to go overseas, they might go to like America or England or something like that, and you know, from here that's not going to be a huge culture shock. But going to South Africa was like
a big blow to the system.
Down. Yeah, absolutely. Even just the fact that there's like so many different languages spoken. I mean, obviously English is a primary language, but
yes,
you know, you've got Afrikaans and you've got Zulu and you've got Xhosa and, you know, Swahili and Sotho and all that stuff, right? You've got heaps of languages, and hearing them, like a lot of people speak a lot of different languages. You know, one of our friends, Lloyd, speaks 7 languages pretty fluently, and that's like, you know, that's not unheard of in Cape Town. So definitely a big blowout with all that sort of stuff. And so you can talk about some of your experiences, what some of the things that you experienced when you came to Australia.
When I first came to Australia, I was, I don't know, I was shocked a bit.
Yeah?
It was not what I expected.
Okay.
In terms of, especially when we drove into the area. I don't know. It was not that city feeling because of probably the area we were at.
Right.
And also,
Yeah.
you know, the first thing that really stood out for me is the people. It was different. Just being in this different country, just a simple saying hello or that wasn't there for me. I feel like everyone, when I moved here, it was like everyone is living their own life in their own box. Like it's all cut off. That was that was a lot for me to deal with. I could not handle that because it's like everyone's walking past each other. Everyone, and especially also when I was here, it's like making appointments to see certain people, and then I don't know, it's just different. The culture in that way is...
You talking about the random drop-ins?
Yeah, the drop-ins, like just visiting someone. Or even family, seeing family members. To me, it was a shock to the system, how it works, where everything is so... Everyone is in their own world, and you have to... It's a big... Making a plan or arrange to get into that world where they are at. It's really... I can't explain it. I can't really put it into words. But that was a big culture shock for me. That is a culture shock, yeah?
Yeah.
Because for everyone, that was normal. Everyone was living their own lives. It's like, I don't want to say it like this, but I don't... No one needs anything from anyone. Which is really sad.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is sorted. And that is a sad thing for me because where I come from, it's like we need each other. We are always, just strangers just walking in a road. It's like we talk to people that we don't know, like we know each other. And yeah, it was just, whoa, it was a shock to the system.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Mike said, we saw your grandmother and your grandfather, and I asked you, how often do you see him, right?
Yeah.
And what did you say, every once a month, or I don't know.
I think it was less frequent. I was like pretty.
I wanted to make it even like sound more.
Oh, we gotta
like,
be honest. I think it was pretty much just like special occasions, right? Like birthdays,
special
Christmas,
occasions. When he said to me that, I was like, and to be honest with you, die vrou bly nie sy bly naby. Or like
Yeah.
a
15 minutes away.
15 minutes. And I was like, only special occasions like Easter's and Christmas and birthdays, and that's it. Where that was also for me. It was, and that's all part of it. But I think I'm so used to it now.
Yeah, there was definitely a way different family dynamic, 100%.
The family dynamic is
Like, yeah, just
different.
the way you even call your second cousins, third cousins, just cousins. Here in Australia, we call them strangers.
Because you hardly see him.
Yeah, you like that one? Nice little
That's a good one.
nice little joke for you. But yeah, we definitely don't have as much. I guess it really depends on the family here, but I think on average, like, you know, other like, so I'm talking about predominantly like true blue Aussies. You know, you might, like, certain parts of Australia would have different multicultural backgrounds and ethnicities and stuff, and they would probably do things differently. But you know, amongst my sort of background people, typically speaking, we're not as close with our families. Extended families anyway. Like, you don't see your cousins as much and that sort of stuff. I mean, to be honest, I really like the way that Cape Town, or like South Africans, do it, especially like Cole's mob. You know, we went to like family gatherings that had like just so many people.
But that was overwhelming for you because you're not used to
at
it.
first, but now it's good.
It's alle aunties is there.
Yeah, now I don't mind it. I like it. I'm used to it.
I
And I know
I
everyone.
remember.
I think initially as well, like part of the overwhelming, like I guess the I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but like what overwhelmed me initially was the fact that like most of those people wouldn't be speaking English, and just like other etiquette things as well, like the way you were saying, like even certain jokes that I would make, you would be like, you can't really make jokes like that
that's another thing
around my family.
It's just yeah.
Because, you know, like Australians typically, you know, we're not shy of a nice crude joke.
Oh,
whereas
it's
very different. Very different.
It's very different, and
So I guess for people listening though, right? Because there might be people listening in relationships, interracial relationships, intercultural relationships, and probably want to know like, how do you deal with it? Like, how do you?
At first, we didn't know.
Yeah,
we had no idea how to
really
deal
tough.
with it. It was tough, and that's where the argument started, because he would be with us in a family gathering, and instead of, you know, getting into it, I know even this is after he's been back a few times, it gets overwhelming for him because he's not used to that family dynamic, and I had to learn to see things from his perspective. Yeah, to see things from his perspective and see that he's not used to that family dynamic. So it's all about understanding and also trying to put yourself into their shoes so that you can understand. And then I think that makes it so much easier. And also communication. At first, I would just... Ek sal vererglik raak. It wek op my nerves, but I won't say anything. I'll just keep it to myself, build up. And that's when we used to have all those arguments because we weren't aware of the cultural differences. And he was doing things that was in his culture that was fine. And to me, for me, that was not okay. Until we got to the point where we openly spoke about it. And now it's like I've adapted to certain things. He's adapted to certain things. And I feel like we've really worked on so many things.
Probably in a hybrid state where we, kind of in the middle between where we were.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I feel like the family dynamics, like you would go more to your parents now. Like you more of a family oriented now.
I do go to my parents more now, and I think part of that could also be just maturing and realizing that, time spent with family is limited and precious. My parents are getting older, and not that they're anywhere near, moving on to the next life or anything, but I do appreciate the time that I have more richly. I think when you're young, you're very self-centered, and, they say a male's brain isn't fully developed until 30. I've said that in the last episode. And I think, you become a little bit less self-absorbed once you reach that full level of maturity, and you realize that the family around you are actually really important. So that probably part of that is the case as well. But that we're not really talking about that. We're more talking about the cultural differences.
Yeah. What other things were there? I'm just thinking.
Yeah, look, even, just the emphasis that we put on certain events, like, I think this could be a family thing for you, but I think it's probably also a little bit of a cultural thing. Milestones, and I mean by milestones, it doesn't take a lot. It can be very insignificant, and you'll celebrate it. It's like, let's go out and celebrate because you finished a week of work. That might be hyperbole, but
look, let me tell you, in Australia, they don't make a big deal of certain things that we make a big deal back in home. Like a 21st party, you guys know. Back home, it's like you're getting wet. It's like a wedding.
Gosh, the 21st. Like, I have to talk about this. This was
yellow
crazy.
Party.
I went to my first 21st when it was like we weren't even engaged yet. We were just dating. And
absolutely.
Oh, goodness gracious me. I remember turning up to this 21st and thinking, have I been lied to? Have I been tricked into going to a wedding and being told this is 21st? Is the bride, or is it the bride's birthday also today? Is that what's actually happening?
You were so confused.
I was very confused because I can tell you right now, that thing was decorated. It was catered. It was there was a whole dance. Marching band thing going on there.
If you know, you know.
And the 21st, the birthday girl had like a throne to sit on on the stage at the end of the hall.
Lauren, if you're watching this,
yeah, Lauren. Actually, you can count yourself special because your 21st is the only South African 21st I've been to, but I have seen your 21st on a video, which was also impressive. And I've heard other people talk about their 21st, and I know that this is not a one-off thing. So even though my sample pool of actually visiting a 21st was limited, I can speak from experience of hearing and seeing other ones on videos talking blah, blah, blah.
You celebrate.
They're crazy.
I feel like our people back home, it's just like we've been through so much. And we really, I'm not saying you don't appreciate milestones, but we really appreciate the little things and really celebrating it because it's achievements. So when it's our kids' birthdays, Mike will say, but we had a party. Why don't we have a party on certain ages, like a big one? No, every year is a big one because you know what? It's a whole year added to their lives, or like little things like you said. But again, there's times now where Mike will say, are we going to celebrate? So it's like we've adapted to each other's cultures now, hey? Mike will come to me and say, oh, this happened, let's celebrate. And I was like, lieflijk, die is oulik. So we've really adapted to each other's cultures in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we've adapted to each other's cultures, hey?
definitely.
They're still in the beginning. It was hard. Like we were always. There was all headbutts.
Butting heads, yeah, for sure. And I think probably one thing like that I can give a piece of advice for is like, I think it means a lot to the other person when you embrace their culture as well.
Yeah.
And by embrace, I mean even learn a bit about their history, background, why they do certain things, like why traditions are traditions. Just show like appreciation for it. And, you know, that was easy for me because I'm typically a person that likes to research and, you know, watch documentaries and stuff. Learning and educational stuff it comes pretty natural to me. But like, yeah, finding out about, you know, just a whole bunch of stuff, like,
Yeah.
just different things. I don't know. I can't even give examples right now, but like, yeah, I know a fair bit about South Africa.
Oh, there's another this is a funny one. We used to get so many Australian teams over in South Africa to my dad's church. And we would take them out to the malls and we would just, you know, go and have a good time. And what I've noticed is even amongst the team, the actual team that's there, they're all from Australia.
Yeah.
They would do this thing where one of them would go into the shop and they would buy a big meal.
Here we go.
They would buy a big meal. And I'm talking about, it's a delicious and like lekker. As jy honger is, you're gonna want a little bit of that meal. But what I found was back then, and it always happened, I was so fascinated by it. They would go into a shop, buy a big meal, come back out and eat it right in front of the rest of the team. Stop with the sounds, man.
Sorry.
But when we met, he did the exact same thing. And we would be out dating.
When you say exact same thing, I didn't buy a whole meal. I bought a
Not
chocolate
a whole,
bar.
chocolate bar. Yeah. But the thing is, I think that's a cultural thing. It's just
It's
like
definitely a cultural thing, and I think where it comes from is in Australia, we are very blessed, and everybody is, you know, they have the means to get whatever they want for themselves, right? And so if I go to the shops and I buy a chocolate bar and, you know, a drink or something, I know that my friend has the ability to do that. And so I don't need to offer him because he can get his own.
Wait, but you know what? I feel like because that's the expectations, right? But there is definitely people in Australia that is not at the means of, like if I look at the kids, at even now, with kids around the area, I would see how one is getting a meal and I can tell that the other one is hungry. Do you know? But it's just the Australian thing where, like I said, everyone is in their own space. Everyone is living their own life. I'm looking after myself. I don't have to look out for anyone else, kind of thing. And back home again, there's no way I'm going to go into a shop and come out with something and just eat it in front of anyone. There's no way.
Yeah.
So that, we used to argue a lot.
Yeah.
I can argue with you. You mad.
And I don't do that anymore, do I?
And again, and I got to the point where I understood, because when I came here, I could see what it was like. But when I was there, it just didn't make sense. But when I came to Australia, I could see, okay, I can see where this is coming from.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, it brings up a good point, right? And if you're in a relationship that is from two very different cultural backgrounds, do your best to go and experience their culture in their native environment, if possible. I mean, I know it's not possible for everyone to travel across the world, especially not at the moment in this current climate, but if you do have the opportunity, I think it means a lot to that person to be able to, like, you know, show you around their area and stuff, unless they themselves don't want to go for some reason. But that's a whole different story. I just think that it helps to really understand what has made that person, the experiences, and just where, like, everything they've been through. It helps a lot to kind of go and understand that.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
right.
It's one of the reasons why I'd love to go to Ghana, just to see where some of our closest friends are from Ghana, and just to kind of experience, where they've come from, their roots, that stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
One day we will go.
We will.
I would
Go meet Davido.
I've seen some.
I go meet Davido.
Oh, you need to chill. I want to meet King Promise. He's my guy. But just like some of the street food there looks amazing.
It does.
Anyway.
Yum.
So ultimately I think that understanding, like, if you're in a relationship that has clashes because of cultural differences, and you can see and acknowledge that it's because of cultural differences, try and see something from someone else's perspective, from the other person's perspective. They would say, like, put yourself in their shoes, kind of thing.
Yep. And communicate. Communication is key.
Absolutely.
There's no way you're going to get through it if you're not going to share your feelings and talk about it.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like, probably 9 times out of 10, the clashes because of cultural differences are offences, like being offended. Because you think, oh, that's rude or whatever, but you don't understand that may just be a really normal and accepted thing. And for instance, like, I may be butchering this, but I'm pretty sure that I think it's Japanese culture, right? If you go to someone's house and they bring you a plate of food, and you eat everything on that plate, you're actually telling that host that they didn't feed you enough. And it's actually a bit of a slap in the face, because they're saying that they've underfed you.
Well, you don't know if it's entirely, like, if it's true.
I'm pretty sure it's true. I'm pretty sure this is true. And so culturally, right, it is actually considered respectful to leave a small portion of food on the plate, because it's saying that I was satisfied enough that I couldn't finish my food. Yeah. And if this is not Japan, I'm sorry, Japanese people, but I know this is definitely a cultural thing somewhere in the world, and I'm like 95% certain it's Japan. But then, like, in another country, like, it would be like, oh, what's wrong? Wasn't my cooking good enough that you couldn't finish it? So you see, like, if those two cultures came together, they would obviously have an argument. And the thing is that both of them are trying to be respectful, but offending the other person unintentionally. And I think that's what you have to get to the bottom of, is, like, this person, their actions are they doing it to be offensive, or do they not see any issue with it? Do they think that this is actually perfectly fine? And if so, let me understand why, because, we could avoid a big argument. And I think that if it
is offensive, you work on it together, because you don't want to offend
your
partner.
So then there's a middle ground there that you've got to find, right? So the first one is let the person know that you find it offensive, so maybe they can modify what they're doing, but then also at the same time understand that what they're doing is not an intentionally offensive thing. So to let that thing go and to let it slide to some degree. So finding the middle ground, not because you don't want someone to change 100% and you don't have to change at all. You need to give and take.
And when we're coming back to you made a point about the food and the food and how it's disrespectful, whatever. And it made me think of in Cape Town. Do you remember when you used to go to everyone's houses, people will just bring you something, and you would maybe not be hungry, or you would really didn't want anything. And I had to explain to Mike, if you say no thank you, or you just say, it's so different, because back home it's like people is so happy to actually, because that could even be their last that they're offering you, and they would be the happiest to offer you that, even if it's their last. And if you go say no thank you, it's like a smack in their face. So that was weird to Mike, because in Australia, when I moved here, Mike's friend used to come over, and my mum would be there when she was visiting, and she would go like, why are you not offering them, or why are you not making them tea? And I had to explain to her that over here, people's really not interested in having a cup of tea maybe when they come to your house. They just want a glass of water, or they don't want anything, and you can't just take them stuff because they don't get it.
That's right. I had to learn that, you know, you don't go to KFC before you go to the family's house, because if you fill up before you get there, you're going to have a hard time saying yes to everything and fitting it down at the same time. There was plenty of times where I was just not in the mood, and they're like, no, eat this, eat that, eat this, and you're just like, oh, I can't. But I have to, because I don't want to
offend you,
be a bad guest.
So that was a big one, eh?
Yeah. And I mean, and the other thing as well, like, I think probably for me, and this is just a little bit of a laugh, Colleen in some ways has gotten too Aussie. And I say this as a bit tongue in cheek, because
no way.
Because there'll be times, like, obviously I work from home now, but when I was working out in the office and I'd come home,
I don't know what he's about to say, guys.
And your mum would be like, when he comes home from work, you don't provide him a snack or a cup of tea, or you don't make him anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think once or twice when your mum was there, you did it, and I was like, oh, it's a bit nice coming home to some snacks and stuff. I could get used to this.
But in the beginning, when I used to do it, it's not a thing. So it's like, why are we having a snack before dinner? That's what his thing was. It's like, but back home, it was.
We've traded.
Thing.
We swapped.
And exactly.
And
now it's like, there's so many things where I was like, I need to go back home. Not home, but back to South Africa, just to, you know, get back in touch with certain things. The cultures is different.
Very different.
And coming to Australia was a lot for me. People couldn't understand my accent. They still don't sometimes. I couldn't order a coffee without getting it wrong. It was hard to even like start friendships because everyone was so busy in their own world. It was hard to just have a friend. What other stuff was there?
Oh, this so much.
So many things. But I'm here. I've learned to adapt.
I feel like this could be a multi-part series. We probably should.
And that's why we're gonna have Coffee and Amanda, and that because that's what we spoke about today.
We have some friends from Ghana.
We had a topic set for what we're gonna talk about, and this is definitely it goes on and on and on. Cultural differences is not just one thing, but we've covered a few good things as to how to deal with these things, which communication is one.
Yeah. And communication is almost the answer to every problem in marriage, but
adapting, respecting.
That's right. Just being lenient, trying to understand the other person's point of view, and embracing their culture too. I mean, there's obviously something that if you're in a relationship, there's obviously something that you saw in that person, something that attracted you to them, and part of that could be their culture that you don't even know. So find out about it and.
No, there's no sound effect for that one.
Oh, that's nice.
Liquor?
Yeah.
What does that sound?
It's a harp.
A what? Okay, go.
Back rubs are nice. Give your husband lots of back rubs. And give your wife lots of back rubs.
Oh my goodness gracious me. But anyway, Mike has now learned that when we go, because my parents are now in Australia, when we go over to my parents and they ask him, Mike, was it koppie koffie? Yeah, dankie, Bobby. Even though he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And she loves it, eh? She loves making something.
Your mum especially, yes. She's got a very servant heart.
And there's times where I sit with Mike's parents and you know what? The jokes that comes out, I just can't help myself. It's hilarious. So I think we got to the point where we understand each other's cultures, but at the end of the day, we all come back together, and loving God, serving God together, and that's the most important thing. Having the same beliefs, hey?
Yeah.
Different cultures, but the same beliefs.
Yeah. Cool. And when we, like everything. We talked about this in the last episode, didn't we? Long distance relationships we talked about making sure that you're fully aligned on all of your positions.
Yeah.
You know, political, child raising.
Especially when you have kids, because you have to be on the same page.
Goals and dreams and all that sort of stuff, desires, everything. So, yeah. And it's the same applies to couples in cultural opposite relationships. But yeah, anyway, guys, I think we'll wrap this one up. We've been talking long enough.
It's a big one. It's a big one.
But we have enjoyed being your hosts for this episode.
It was nice and lovely.
We hope you're getting something out of these.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below.
We certainly enjoy all of the comments that let us know when we've said something that meant something to you guys, and keep them coming. We love the communication.
En alle Afrikaanse boodskapies en so aan.
Yes, we will do some. We'll do some videos where we focus a little bit on that. For the viewers that speak Afrikaans, we will do a video targeted at you, because we can throw a little bit in here and there, but
But what would you like to say for the Afrikaans videos today? You haven't said anything.
I don't know. Ik weet niet.
I'm gonna tell them to have a good day, maybe.
Okay. Goeienaand almal. Lekker aand vir jou.
Ja, my bro.
Lief vir julle.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is a affection. Chef's kiss.
Prachtig.
Okay, where's the... Hey.
Now I've got to go and transfer all this footage to my rekenaar.
Ooh.
I don't know the word for transfer.
I don't know. We will just say transfer. Transfer our information naar die
Kom base
computer.
Afrikaans, yeah.
And we won't even say rekenaar. We say transfer that information naar die computer to me, bro.
Got to throw the me bro in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've been talking long enough.
Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Yep. All right, guys. We will catch you in our next episode.
Mwah.
Goodbye.